Can a single car change the course of an entire season before it even begins? What Adrian Newey has designed for Aston Martin in 2026 is doing exactly that, and the FIA doesn't know whether to celebrate it or stop it. The AMR26 is not just a new single-seater. It is a declaration of principles. An early warning that Aston Martin, under the direct tutelage of Adrian Newey, has decided to leave the comfort zone and throw itself fully into the conceptual war that defines this new era of Formula One. From the first moment it rolled at the Barcelona shakedown, the car left everyone perplexed. Not because of the colors, not because of the sound, but because of their shapes. For his daring. The engine cover has been reduced to a minimum, suggesting a level of mechanical compactness that can only be achieved by sacrificing space and taking an aggressive approach to cooling. This comes with risks: overheating, compromises in reliability, and extreme dependence on airflow. But Newey is not new to this. It has opted for something reminiscent of its brightest days. Solutions that not only work, but redefine what we understand as possible within the regulations. The sidepod area has been designed as an aerodynamic manipulation channel, not simply as a set of air inlets. What Aston Martin has done is push the limit of how flow can be controlled on the sides of the car, with surfaces that literally carve the air to shape it at will. This is no coincidence, it is a surgical work of aerodynamics applied to detail. And it's not the only thing. There is one detail that the engineers have not been able to ignore: the work on the suspension. The front geometry in particular has been shaped for a dual purpose. On the one hand, maintain mechanical control of the tire in the traction phase. On the other, manipulating the airflow under the chassis to seal the ground, generate charge and direct key vortices. This duality that many teams consider almost impossible to achieve without compromising stability has been implemented by Newey with an audacity that borders on the forbidden. The car even adopts visual elements that refer directly to a time of greater technical freedom, such as those reinterpreted horns on the airbox, a direct inspiration from the legendary McLaren MP4-20. This detail is not simply aesthetic, it is symbolic. It is a direct provocation. A nod to the years when cars were designed to win first, and comply with the regulations later. The reactions did not take long to arrive. George Russell called it the most visually striking car in the entire paddock. James Vowles, head of Williams, admitted without hesitation that it is the design that attracts the most attention. And in Formula One, when everyone looks at a car, it's because they suspect something, because they respect it, or because they care. In this case, all three things apply. And all this before even seeing how it behaves in real competition conditions. There is no precedent in recent years for a car to cause such a stir in such a short time, especially in a season with new technical rules. The AMR26 did not present itself as a discrete candidate to score points. It came like a weapon. A precision missile designed not to adapt, but to dominate from the start. In the silent corridors of the FIA, what reigns is not enthusiasm, but restlessness. Because beyond how radical it looks from the outside, what has really set off internal alarms is what is not visible to the naked eye about the AMR26. What is hidden under its hood, what vibrates in the high-speed images, what makes the most veteran technical analysts of this sport suspicious. And at the center of this controversy is one word: aeroelasticity. During initial testing in Barcelona, high-definition cameras captured an unexpected phenomenon: a subtle but measurable flex in the Aston Martin's front wing supports. Under aerodynamic load, those pillars seem to behave in a dynamic, almost living way. And this, although it may not seem like it, could be Newey's real trick. Because we are not talking about obvious flexing, but about intelligent behavior tuned to the flow and speed, which only appears under certain conditions of pressure, load, and wind direction. The 2026 technical regulations explicitly prohibit any moving element that actively alters aerodynamics. But the key here is not in what moves, but in how an apparently rigid component behaves, thanks to its structural design. According to some independent engineers, Newey would have created a perfect gray area, a structure that complies with the FIA's static rigidity tests, but that, in real conditions, modifies its behavior in a controlled manner, generating additional vortices that enhance frontal loading without penalizing drag. This type of design is known as induced aeroelasticity, and until now, no team had managed to implement it effectively. Newey, however, appears to have done so, and with this, it has turned on all the alerts. The preliminary test reports are already being reviewed by the FIA's aerodynamic analysis departments, and talk has begun, discreetly, of a possible preventive technical directive, even before the first official classification. This scenario is reminiscent of past moments of maximum tension, Braun's double diffuser in 2009, Mercedes' DS in 2020, or Red Bull's flexible bottom in 2022. Each of these innovations was first legal, then questioned, and finally limited or prohibited. The difference this time is that Newey has done it in a year where the rules change massively, and the FIA is still fine-tuning its own framework of interpretation. It's the perfect time to slip through a conceptual crack. And that has consequences. Because while some teams are struggling to find balance in their cars, Aston Martin seems to have found an advantage that can't be easily copied. It's not a wing you can replicate, nor a side pod design you can scan in the pit lane. It is a structural concept, a technical language that only a few understand. And that, in Formula One, is a real threat. Meetings between commissioners, engineers, and technical delegates are already taking place in private. There is talk of requesting more data, of reviewing the telemetry, of calling Aston Martin for a more rigorous inspection in Bahrain. But the FIA's dilemma runs deep. If they act too soon, they risk limiting innovation and creating a political precedent. If they don't act, they could see AMR26 sweep away the competition before others have time to react. Meanwhile, in the paddock, rumors are growing. Some maintain that Mercedes is already pushing for an official review. Others claim that McLaren has sent an informal protest based on the correlation of visual data. But everyone, absolutely all the teams, agree on one thing. If this is not stopped, the championship could be decided before reaching Imola. Because the AMR26 is not only proposing a technical revolution, it is forcing the FIA to make urgent decisions. To define once again what legal really means in the always ambiguous language of Formula One. But this goes beyond whether it is legal or not. The real question that the entire paddock is asking is another: will it work? Because the design of the AMR26, so radical and ambitious, contains a paradox. If it works as expected, it will be unbeatable. But if it fails, it will become another example of how uncontrolled genius can lead to disaster. The data available so far indicates that the AMR26 has brutal performance potential. Very high top speeds, aggressive aerodynamic behavior, and even traces of energy efficiency due to its low straight-line drag. In Aston Martin simulations, the car is on par or even ahead of the McLaren MCL39 and Ferrari SF25 in flying lap conditions. But this is not a time attack category. This is Formula One, and here consistency, management, and tolerance for change matter as much as raw speed. And therein lies the dilemma. The car has been designed to operate within an extremely narrow performance window. Under ideal conditions, it could crush its rivals. But all it takes is for the track to have 1 degree less temperature on the asphalt, or for the wind to blow from an unexpected angle, for the entire system to become unbalanced. Newey knows it. Therefore, its design seeks to integrate each component as part of an inseparable whole. Aerodynamics, sprung mass, suspension, chassis rigidity, and thermal transfer must work as a single organism. If a single element breaks that harmony, the fall will be vertical. This makes the AMR26 a kind of trap car. When it's going well, it seems unstoppable. But when he falls into his own trap, there is no easy way to recover. The correction margin is minimal. It is not a design that is forgiving of errors. It demands perfection. And in an environment like race weekends, where every minute counts, that demand can turn against the most ambitious team. The internal pressure on the drivers is another key factor. Fernando Alonso, with his experience, can take advantage of the virtues of an unpredictable car. But even he will need meticulous preparation and clean sessions to adapt to each track. Lance Stroll, for his part, has so far not demonstrated the ability to adjust to temperamental cars. What will happen when they reach circuits like Suzuka, where aerodynamic balance is inherently unstable? Or in urban layouts like Baku, where the rebound can be activated by a single irregularity in the ground? The FIA is caught between two opposing forces, allowing the spectacle to evolve at the hands of genius, or acting as a guardian of balance, even at the expense of talent. Because if AMR26 is declared illegal, not only an idea is dismantled. A clear message is sent: no matter how brilliant you are, if you get too far ahead of the rest, we will clip your wings. And that is a dilemma that has been floating around Formula One for decades. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.